So welcome. So this is the live Q&A class that I have set up, and I've only invited people who have joined the LinkedIn challenge to join this live class today. And what I just want to go through with you is the three key things that you need to be doing or to be thinking about to attract the right people and the right opportunities to your profile in LinkedIn. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of background about myself. I'm going to go through these three key things, and then if you've wanted to work with me further, I'm going to tell you as well about my LinkedIn confidence course that you can join in. We're going to get started. We can get started straight away, actually, but it's going to include some live Q&A calls as well, and they won't start until next week. A little bit of background about me, for those of you who don't already know me. So I run an independent coaching practice, The Confident Mother, and I've been running my own business now since 2012. But even before that, I've been helping mums with their work and their career and leadership confidence. So I was head of IT at the law firm. I was global head of IT service in my last 3 or 4 years with them. And our head of HR used to send women down to see me to come and get help, particularly when they had become mothers for the first time. So they would come down to see me in IT and not really sure what to expect because they didn't really understand why they'd come to see the head of IT. But for me, it was about helping women to get really clear on what they wanted from their career and what they wanted from their role. So I've been coaching women through in work for quite a number of years now. First few pictures on the top left. So these are just some of the locations that I've been based in. So although I was physically based in London, my job was actually based in Chicago, which are the picture at the top there. And then I worked for an outsourcing company, the company was based in Atlanta. I was based here in the UK. So I'm often invited to comment on Sky News, on anything to do with working mums, with maternity rights, with discrimination against women in the workplace. I've appeared on I don't know if that's the right word, on BBC Radio Kent a few times as well. I've had articles published in the Evening Standard, in City AM, and at the bottom there is a couple of pictures of me working with my mastermind group on the left. And I was just talking to a client earlier today about mastermind groups, and in the middle there is me talking to the London tech ladies at one of their events. So that's just a little bit about me. So The Confident Mother. Now, I run this LinkedIn challenge because for me, LinkedIn is such an important tool when you're talking about building your business, building your career, and building your leadership potential. The Confident Mother philosophy is based on these 5 key elements. So for me, contribution is really about valuing who you are and what's unique and special about you, and being valued for who you are as well. And then wellness is the second element. And for me, that's looking after your own physical, mental, and emotional health. And for me, contribution and wellness together, you've got to have those 2 foundations in place before you can start to really get your work-life balance, or to get your career, or to get your leadership potential. You're kind of fully operational. These are the 2 core foundation stones for me. And then work. Most women come to me because it's about work, because they want to go back to work after a career break, because they want to build their business, or because they want to apply for that promotion, or change careers, or simply change employers in the same industry or in the same type of career. So that's where most women come to me. And that's why I run this LinkedIn challenge, and why I spend so much time talking about LinkedIn, because I've been training it for 10 years now. And it's such an essential piece of your toolkit. Then, of course, The Confident Mother, one of those 5 elements has got to be about family. So that's the relationship you have with your own children, maybe the relationship you have with your partner. But for me, it's very much about how you balance that family and that work. And then the feminine for me is about celebrating you as a woman and not just as a mother. So for me, that is about really embracing and relishing and enjoying the opportunities that being a woman brings, while recognizing perhaps some of the challenges and limitation that also brings. The one thing I say to on all of my live classes that I run online, and I do run about once a month, for me, it's not magic. I don't have a magic wand. I can't turn you into the confident mother. I can't turn you into somebody that's doing everything they need to do for their business or for their career. I can show you the tools, I can show you the strategies that I use, and that's what I'm going to do today. But you've got to want to do it. You've got to have the wish, the vision, the desire. You've got to know what it is that you want, to be really clear. And when you've got that clarity, that is what creates the magic. That is what allows you to have the confidence to take the actions that will allow you to achieve your goal. So for me, I am an action taker, and my clients are action takers, and I want to encourage you to take action, even if you're scared, even if you're not sure what the action is going to be. And that's partly what the LinkedIn Challenge is all about, is to show you some of what you can do with LinkedIn. So today I want to focus on the 3 key things that you need to do to attract the right people to your profile. And when you attract the right people, that will bring you the right opportunities as well. So there are 3 key things. And the one that I'm going to start with is strategy. It's about, you've really got to know what you're using LinkedIn for, like why you're using LinkedIn, what's your goal. Is it about getting more speaking opportunities? Is it for you about developing more opportunities and creating conversations with people so that you can turn them into clients eventually? Is it about growing your network? That's the most important thing, really, is you've got to have a strategy. You've got to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And there's no point just kind of doing random clicks and connecting with people without understanding why it is that you want to connect with those people. So the strategy for me is the most important thing. But in order to develop and create that strategy, you've absolutely got to know what your goal is. What's your plan? You've then got to grow your network. I think that's so fundamental. There's no point using a networking tool such as LinkedIn unless you actually plan to grow your network. But that doesn't necessarily mean just connecting with every random stranger that you come across. And then for me, one of the key things with strategy, in order to know whether or not your strategy is the right one, you've got to do some measuring as well. So I'm just going to touch on all of those. So those of you who are joining me a little late, I do apologise for not getting that working properly. You wouldn't think I've been running webinars for years and years and years, and I haven't done a very good job on this one so far. So anyway, strategy is about knowing the purpose of being on LinkedIn, and it is a networking forum, so you've absolutely got to do some networking, otherwise what's the point? But it doesn't mean networking with everybody. You can be picky about who you choose to network with. I think that's absolutely your choice. You've got to have a plan, and in order to know that strategy, that plan is the right one, you've got to do some measuring. So you've got to monitor the success or otherwise of your strategy. So no matter whether you're running a career or whether you have a business, you've absolutely got to know what is the purpose of your why you're using LinkedIn. So you've got to know who you are and what you do, how you do it, and why it works. Now that doesn't matter whether you're running a business or if you're running or if you're in an employment. You still got to know what it is that you do and what's unique and special about the way that you do it. So that comes back to my contribution element. You've got to know, if you're a marketing manager, yes, of course, there are hundreds, thousands maybe of marketing managers, but you've got to know what it is that's special about what you do with marketing. So maybe for you, it's that you're an expert at doing the marketing planning and the strategy. Maybe for you, you're an expert in marketing, but you work very much with small businesses and help them with their digital marketing. So even if there are hundreds of people like you, what you do and the way you do it is still unique. And before you can start to decide on your strategy for using LinkedIn, you've got to be really clear on the purpose. You've got to know who you are, what you do, how you do it, and why it works. And those of you who've been following on with the challenge, you'll know that that actually is one of the ways that you can structure your summary to make it very clear and very obvious to people. And like I say, it doesn't matter if that's you're talking about career or business, you've still got to know all of that. So that's your purpose on your strategy, kind of the foundation stone of your strategy is knowing that information. But then you've got to decide, okay, so I'm going to use LinkedIn. It's going to be part of my strategy. So what is your actual goal? What do you actually want to achieve? Now, for some people, it might be about getting more speaking opportunities because they know that clients buy from them when they speak in person. It might be about finding more freelance opportunities. If you're a self-employed marketeer or a self-employed virtual assistant or a self-employed social media specialist, maybe for you it's about finding new freelance opportunities. Maybe you know that you want to get talking to more law firms. Maybe you want to have the conversations with the heads of HR because you're trying to sell your coaching services. Or maybe you need to talk to the risk manager because you know that you're selling a service that's perfect for risk management or risk specialists. So you've got to know what your goal is. Are you trying to what type of opportunities do you want to create? So once you've got that, but then you need to go down into the details. So, okay, so let's take speaking opportunities as an example. So what type of speaking opportunities do you want? And yes, any speaking opportunity may well be one of your goals. So I will happily go and speak at big conferences, in-house events. I will speak on Sky News on behalf of other campaigns. I'm keen for all speaking opportunities. But if you can try and focus on one type of speaking opportunity at a time, so that your goal, your strategy is very clear and very specific and very focused, you'll find it'll be easier. It won't be quite so overwhelming. So what sort of speaking opportunities do you want? Do you want to get onto the in-house speaking opportunities? Is it perhaps that you want to speak at networking events where they're looking for sort of short speakers to come in and do a quick 15-minute presentation on how to make the most of your social media? Do you want to go and speak on big stages at a big conference? You want to be the big keynote speaker? So get clear on what type of opportunities you're looking for. And then you can start to think, okay, in that case, if I want to get onto the speaker circuit and be talking at networking events as one of those key or guest speakers, who do I need to have the conversations with to do that? So where do I need to go? Who do I need to connect with? What groups do I need to go and chat in? So that's how you start to build your strategies, to get clear on your goal. And then once you've decided your overall goal, you've got to go down deeper on that and figure out what specifically do I need to do so that you can start to build that action plan. So once you've got that action plan, once you know what your goal is, you know who you want to try and talk to, you can start to grow your network more effectively. You can start to be clever and strategic in the way that you grow your network. And strategic is a word that I use quite often. And people sometimes say to me, well, do you mean you're being manipulative? And I don't consider it to be manipulative because I shy away like mad from just bombarding people with random emails. But for me, it's about being smart and being clever. So if I want to get more speaking opportunities and I want to do it in-house and I want to get in and talk to law firms, then I want to go and find out who are those diversity managers in law firms, who can I talk to, who might be the person booking the guests for the in-house events. Now, one of the things that I haven't shown you yet in the challenge, but when you're searching for people, I've shown you that you can search for law firm or you can search for diversity manager, but you can put those two things together using what's known as Boolean operators. So technical jargon, I know, but it just means that you're using things like and, or. So I could search on diversity manager and that would show me lots of different diversity managers. or I could search on just law firm, and obviously it's going to show me lots of people who work at law firms. However, I can be really clever and strategic and smart and search for diversity manager in quotation marks and then again in quotation marks law firm. And then it's going to show me diversity managers at law firms. Now on this search one that I've done here on the screenshot, it's shown me people who aren't necessarily having that diversity manager role in a law firm right now. So it's actually brought me up. I don't know if you can see there. These are people who've had diversity manager in their job title in the past, or in the past they've worked at a law firm. But you can get clever with these Boolean operators. So I could search for diversity manager or inclusion manager. You know, people are developing new job titles all the time. So think about, if it's speaking opportunities you want, who do you need to talk to get those speaking opportunities, and then connect with those people. Now, my approach to connecting with people, yes, I want to connect with diversity managers and I want to get speaking opportunities, but I don't dive right in there and say, oh, great, you're a diversity manager, can I come and talk to your women network? I will start to have a conversation with that person first, develop the relationship the same way as if you're networking face to face. You don't just dive straight in and say, oh, hey, I'm a speaker and I want to come and speak at your event. You have a conversation first. Oh, how are you? And how was the traffic today? And what have you enjoyed from the event so far? And, or, you know, if you're having lunch with them, you know, or, you know, you talk about the lunch, the weather, the food, the speakers. So you have that conversation first. For me, it's not about diving straight in. And I know there are LinkedIn experts out there who do encourage people to dive straight in and to start pitching straight away. But for me, that does not fit with my personal values. Now, you might be quite comfortable about doing that, and I'm not saying you mustn't. I'm just saying that for me, I prefer to have that conversation, that warming up conversation first. So growing your network is really important. Reach out to the people that you need to be having conversations with. Another way that you can find out who else to connect with is when you look at a person's profile. So for example, here I'm looking at Zoe's profile. So she's a personal leadership and empowerment coach. I can also see down here on the right who else people looked at. So they've looked at Zoe's profile, but who else did they look at? Because that might give me some interesting connections, some interesting contacts of who else I could be looking at as well. So that's another way of just building your network, because then I could perhaps reach out to Andrew McIntosh, who's a surreal artist. You know, if he was a leadership coach as well, or if he was a diversity manager as well, I could maybe reach out and say, oh, hey, Andrew, I know we both know Zoe. I'm interested in your work that you're doing around leadership. You know, so you can reach out to people and start a conversation. Another way of building your network, think about organizations that you've worked at, or where you've been a supplier, or where you've been a client, or where you've got lots of people that you have connections there. So for example, Allen & Overy is a law firm, and because I specialize in working with women in technology and women in professional services, so typically law firms, I can go and look at Allen & Overy's page. I can see who else works there, and you can see there's 5,000, nearly 6,000 employees on LinkedIn who work at Allen & Overy. And from there I can see, so who do I know that already works there? So this search has brought me up all the people who are my first connections. But if I scroll down my list, I can also see who are my second connections. So if you remember, we looked at your network in the week 1. So you've got first connections, the direct connections, and then your second connections are the indirect connections. They know people who I'm connected to. So if I thought that one of these people would be an interesting connection for me, for example, Sean, I've met him before in the past at a networking event, I could reach out to Sean via one of my first connections, or I could reach out to him depending on how he's got his settings and say, hey, Sean, do you remember, you know, ages ago we met at the Document Excellence Group meeting, or we met at the ILTA meeting. Would love to connect with you again, see how you're getting on. So you can reach out to people in that way as well. Now, I talked about having a strategy. There's no point having a strategy if you're not measuring the success of that strategy. Now, depending on what you're trying to achieve, maybe that success is based on how many speaking opportunities you've received through LinkedIn. But I would also encourage you to keep an eye on the number of connections that you have. How big is your network? Also look at the number of people who viewed your profile. And we covered this right at the start of the 10-day challenge. I encourage you to post and share on LinkedIn in the form of articles. So I would encourage you to look at views on articles. And then perhaps the final measure of success that I would encourage you to think about measuring is the number of conversations that you've had, either on LinkedIn or conversations you've had in person as a result of connections on LinkedIn. So that's strategy then. So for me, the strategy, just to bring that up in summary, is thinking about what your goal is, what do you want to get out of it, making it very clear who you are, what you do, how you do it, why it works, being very clear obviously on your profile in the first place, but having that goal, creating that plan, growing your network, and then measuring your success so that if your strategy is not working, you can adjust it. Now, for me, the second absolutely key thing that you need on LinkedIn, and actually this applies to most forms of social media or most forms of networking, it's about consistency. Because if you're not consistent in the way that you show up, if you're not consistent in how you show up, then it's just not going to feel right. People will wonder whether you really are who you say you are. So for me, the consistency is about a couple of different things. First of all, it's, if in your summary you're saying, I'm really good at or really specialist in gender diversity, or I'm a real expert in developing networks, or I'm a real expert in how to use LinkedIn for me, or I'm a real expert in how to help women get confident in their career, then there's got to be some evidence there to support that. So for example, this is all part of your personal and professional brand. So if I'm telling people I'm brilliant at running my LinkedIn challenge, then people are going to expect to be able to scroll down to my testimonials, to my recommendations, and see recommendations from other people that I'm brilliant at running a LinkedIn challenge. So that consistency is about who and what you say you are and how you do it, and whether there's the consistency in the recommendations and the endorsements that people are seeing. But it's also the consistency in the way that you present yourself. So if you're saying that you're really interested in marketing or digital marketing, or maybe you're really interested in working with not-for-profit organizations, what does the rest of your LinkedIn profile say about you? For example, if I say I specialize in working with charities, do I have lots of charity employees and chief executives in my network? Am I sharing articles about the challenges that charities face? Am I posting and commenting on things that other people who work for charities are sharing and saying? So the consistency comes down to your brand. It's who you connect with, it's what you say and what you share, and how you say it and how you share it. But also finally for me, the consistency is about doing your networking on LinkedIn consistently. And that doesn't necessarily mean every day. So for example, I have been quite inconsistent just recently with how I share articles on LinkedIn. I am in LinkedIn just about every single day. And in the past, I've always written at least one blog post or one Pulse article on LinkedIn every week. But during the school holidays, that has slipped away a little bit because I've been busy with my children and my family. And actually during the LinkedIn challenge, I haven't actually been sharing as many articles on LinkedIn as I would do normally. So the consistency is about showing up consistently. Now, that could be showing up every day, that could be showing up every week, it could be showing up every month, but as long as you're doing it consistently. So it's no good if you're posting every day for 3 weeks and then nothing for 6 months. So if you get really busy with a client or with a project at work and you don't post anything for a while, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. So even if you're struggling to find the time, just 2 minutes just to pop into LinkedIn and comment on somebody else's post, or share an article that you've read in the Telegraph that morning, or share an article that you've read in Third Sector, or whatever industry magazine is relevant for you and your sector. So the consistency is about whether or not you're consistent with who you say you are on your profile, with your recommendations and your endorsements. It's who you connect with. Is that consistent with who you say you are? And what you say and what you share, is that consistent? And are you doing it consistently? So it's all very well having a strategy and a goal and a plan, but you've got to do it consistently as well. So let's just move on to the next slide then. Authenticity for me is really important. Now, we did a values exercise, I think that was on day 3 or day 4 of the challenge, where I get you to explore your own values, because that consistency has got to show through in your values as well. Now, for me, authenticity is one of my one of my core values. And in fact, it's such a core value. It wasn't until I started to work with Sue Revel, who's in the LinkedIn challenge. When I did some work with her last year and explored values again in her Get In Flow challenge, or I can't remember what her challenge is called. It was only then that I realized that authenticity was so important to me, which makes me laugh now, because it's such an important part of what I do and what I say. I don't like things to be too perfect, which is a bit rich coming from someone like me who is a bit of a perfectionist, because then I think they're not authentic. I don't like the false air in cars, because it doesn't feel real to me. If I'm going to go to the countryside, I want it to be like the proper countryside and not too manicured. You know, I like being outside in nature and in the mud. So for me, authenticity is really important. And for me, it's about being who you say you are. So it's not trying to pretend to be something or somebody else. And actually, it's so much easier to be you than to be somebody else. It just makes life an awful lot easier, less complicated, and simplicity is beautiful. And this comes from somebody, you know, I try and overly complicate things very often. So I have to keep reminding myself to be simple. And I'm not, you know, we all have a telephone voice, obviously. We all share things in a different way with our friends down the pub than we would do with our networks on LinkedIn. So it's being true to yourself and being authentic to yourself, while accepting that we have a different voice depending on the audience that we're talking to. So of course, that is going to be slightly different. And my girls can tell when I'm talking to somebody on the phone and it's business related, or whether it's a friend that I'm talking to. They know I have a telephone voice, and we all have a slightly different voice depending on who we're talking to. But it's still about being true to you and being authentic to you. So for me, it's not changing your colours to suit the environment like a chameleon would do. It's about always being you. So if and when you meet me in person, I'm always being me. It's just so much easier to be me. I know people think that I'm quite extrovert and quite outgoing, but actually I'm more of an introvert. I am one of these people. I find it very easy to get up on stage and talk to a big audience. That doesn't really daunt me. It's one of my strengths, I suppose. I know for some people that is a scary challenge. But for me, talking in very small groups of people, I find a bit more of a challenge, because I'm a bit of an introvert, really. And yes, of course, sometimes there are going to be days or weeks or months where you feel like you lack the confidence, or you don't have the knowledge or the expertise. And so maybe you don't feel that you can be who you want to be. But and you've probably heard that expression about faking it until you make it. But for me, it's about being who you want to be. So if you want to be the best expert in the world on digital marketing, then go and be like that person. So if you were that person already, how would you be behaving right now? What would you be saying? What would you be doing? And then go and do that. And I think that's really important, is to be who you want to be. And sometimes accepting that that is going to be scary and challenging. But I don't know if any of you have read the Susan Jeffers book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I absolutely believe in that. You've just got to go and do it. And deep breath, just go out there and just be who you want to be. And for me, authenticity really is about demonstrating your values, being very clear on your values. And that's why, although this is a LinkedIn challenge, I want you to explore your values and get clear on what's important to you, so that you can then make sure that your whole profile, your whole summary, your whole experience reflects what's important to you. So it's about being clear on your values and then being in alignment with your values. And of course, being somewhat mindful of what you say and share, and acknowledging that whatever you say and share is part of your personal and professional brand. And that, you know, if I started being all ranty and sweary on LinkedIn, that's saying something about me, and some people will judge me for that one way or the other. So that's what authenticity is. Now, Marsha was asking about scheduling, a scheduling tool on LinkedIn. There's not one within LinkedIn itself, but you can use tools such as Buffer or Hootsuite or TweetDeck. Now, although Hootsuite and TweetDeck originally were developed to do scheduling on LinkedIn, you can actually use them now to schedule social media activity across all sorts of different platforms. So I don't actually schedule too much on LinkedIn because I'm in there every day. However, my blog posts on my website are hooked up so that anything I post on my blog automatically gets posted on LinkedIn. And then I run another Facebook page called What She Said. And those, again, I sometimes schedule those to automatically pop up on LinkedIn as well as on Twitter. But What She Said, it's a bunch of quotes by women, and it's only quotes by women, mostly for women, but not all of them. And so I'm careful about what I put from What She Said on LinkedIn, because I want what appears on LinkedIn to be my more businessy side of things. Whereas on the What She Said page on Facebook, it's not just business focused. So yes, there are scheduling tools. I personally at the moment use a mixture of Hootsuite and Buffer. I'm considering switching I've used Hootsuite for years, and I'm considering switching to Buffer. So I'm playing around with both of them. I've tried a few different ones, and I really like Hootsuite. I've always found it very, very useful. So that's authenticity, really about being who you say you are, and being what you want to be, even if it feels scary, and being aware that whatever you do, whatever you present on LinkedIn, it's all part of your brand. It's all part of your personal and professional brand. So if you've got other questions on LinkedIn, do pop those in the chat box. I will come up and look at those. I'm finding it difficult to open up the chat box at the moment. However, I do just want to tell you, if you want to keep the momentum going with LinkedIn, and I know I've had lovely feedback about the LinkedIn challenge, and it's the second time that I've run this now, and I think what people really value is the kind of the bite-sized way that the challenges are presented, with the video and the worksheet, your quick fix 5-minute task, and your if you've got more time task. So I'm glad that you've enjoyed that, and I will be coming and asking you all for feedback. And if you'd love to, I'd love you to write me a testimonial on LinkedIn, or a recommendation on LinkedIn, or just email me, and that would be fantastic. But if you do want to keep the momentum going, I just want to tell you about my LinkedIn Confidence course. So this course, it's an online course. It's 5 core modules, and I'll tell you what those are in just a moment. Each module has got multiple lessons in it. So one of the modules, of course, is about creating the foundation. So it's about getting your profile solid. And obviously that's a large part of what we've covered in the LinkedIn challenge. So some of it will be stuff that you've done before, but the advantage of joining the LinkedIn Confidence course is it goes into everything in so much more detail than I can do on a 10-day challenge. It is very much self-paced. So I'm not in there every day saying, come on, what have you done today? What insights? Though there is a private Facebook group to go with it. So I will be in that Facebook group, and I am in there every day. The great thing is, though, even when I've been writing this course, and even when I re-recorded all of the videos second time round, LinkedIn is making changes, and it's made loads of changes over the past 12 months. So even when the LinkedIn format changes, I will be updating the videos and the worksheets, so you've got lifetime access. So even if LinkedIn changes, you'll still have access to the course, and it'll still be relevant because I will update it. And because it's in new build stage at the moment, I am going to throw in a bonus because it's not quite finished, is the honest answer. So what's included in the course? So the 5 core modules is about creating the foundation. So of course that's about building your profile, and really that's what we started to do in week 1 of the challenge. Then week 2 is, module 2 rather, is all about strengthening your brand. And that's really what we started to tackle in week 2 of the challenge. So it's about strengthening your brand. Module 3 rather is about building your community. So it really is about doing the networking, how to connect with people. It's about using groups. And then module 4 is all about showcasing your expertise. So this is about how to write those articles, and not just go and write articles, but also giving you some ideas on what type of articles to write, how to structure the article. I know for some people they've not really written articles before. If you're a regular blogger, then you might already be comfortable with that. And then finally, module 5 is all about designing your strategy. So it is, again, like the LinkedIn challenge, similar format, videos for each lesson with a worksheet, and you've got checklists in there. It's a small group for personalized attention. You've got the workbook that you create and you customize as you go along, so you can record your ideas and your learnings and the actions you're going to take forward. And then, like I say, so the closed Facebook group, so you can keep on asking me questions to keep the momentum going. So I'm just going to deal with a few of the other questions I've got on here. So so Jane is asking, when people try to connect but you don't know them, how do you evaluate re-accepting them? And I think there are 2 schools of thoughts on this. I know there are some people that accept every single connection request regardless, and there are some people who are super cautious and only connect with people that they've actually met in person. Now, I work with one client at the moment where I'm working with all of the senior people in that firm, and it's quite funny because so I'm helping them build their company page and get their LinkedIn profiles right so that they can start to sell into big corporates. And so their managing partner and the chief operations, I'm not quite sure what his title is actually, and they are at those 2 extreme ends of the spectrum. So one of them accepts every single connection, and he's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of connections. And then the other, the operations officer, the chief operations officer, he's got a much smaller network, but he's met them all in person. He knows them all personally. I fall somewhere in the middle. So the way that I use to evaluate them is I'll go and look at their profile, and if they work for a firm that I used to work for, then and I've only worked for good firms, so I don't have an issue with that, then I typically will accept their requests. If they work in a similar field to me, so if a leadership coach wanted to reach out and connect with me, I generally speaking will always connect with that person. I'm a little bit cautious if they are a direct competitor. I'll be honest here, because I know some of you are leadership coaches too. I'd be a little bit cautious because obviously I don't want them just coming in and looking at all my connections and seeing who I'm connected with and going and stealing my contacts. So I tend to be a little bit more cautious there, but I've generally gone and checked that person out, and if I have a gut instinct that I I like that person and that they've got integrity, then I accept their request. And, you know, there's so much work to go around. It doesn't make sense to, and often actually these people become my podcast guests. If they live near me, if they work locally to me, if I can see that they connect with a dozen of people that I'm connected with, and I trust those dozen people, then I will accept the connection. But if they're connected with lots of people that are connected to me, but actually I don't know any of those people in person, I'm a little bit more reticent. So for me, it's an evaluation. I'm somewhere between the two ends of the spectrum. So hopefully that's helped you, Jane. And then Marsha's asked about a 30-day blogging challenge. Yes, the 30-day blogging challenge. This is run by Sarah Arrow. I will post a link in the Facebook group because somebody asked me about that the other day, and it might have been you, Marsha, but I've got a feeling it was somebody else. So I will share the details, and I'll put that up on the juicy details page that came with the LinkedIn challenge as well. And when does video go live on LinkedIn? Video has gone live for some people already. And this is the same as it works on Facebook as well. So new features get rolled out gradually. In my experience with LinkedIn, and I suspect this is true of Facebook as well, the more active you are on LinkedIn, if you're using it every day, the quicker you are to get the new functionality. I know when LinkedIn started to allow us to write blog posts, the Pulse application, I was one of the first people to get it because I was already very active on LinkedIn. I've not tried video on LinkedIn yet. I see lots of people are trying it now. And I would encourage you to experiment and see if that works for you, because it's going to be different for every audience. So hopefully that's answered your questions. If you've got more questions, just pop them in the chat box. So to go back to what's included then. So yes, the 5 core modules: videos, worksheets, checklists, the workbook, the closed Facebook group. And now you want to know how much it is. So so it's a new build bonus. I started to write this course at the beginning of July, and when I sold the first few copies of it, it was greenfield. I hadn't written anything. I knew I had the structure, I had all the lessons and the modules in my head, but I hadn't written it. So they got it at a really, really cheap price because I just wanted people to get in there and start using it and seeing whether it was working. I know it's working because they're in there and they're using it, but I'm still doing a new build bonus. So you're not getting it as cheap as if you'd bought it 6 months ago, or no, July, 3 months ago, but you are still going to get a discounted price because it is still under construction. So you are going to get a significant saving. Plus, because I really want to get your feedback and your input and to see what's working and where I need to adjust the videos and the worksheets, and getting the one-on-one feedback from people I found wasn't enough. So for this time, for this running of the course, you're going to get 5 bonus live Q&A calls. So a bit like today, but it will be you coming in, asking your questions. We'll be looking at your profiles live online, and so you'll get that immediate and direct feedback. So you'll get 5 live Q&A calls that will be set up in advance. So they'll start next week. In return, because you're going to get the discounted price, I'm going to ask you for feedback and a testimonial, assuming you like it. I hope you will like it. And like I say, it's lifetime access. So even when the modules get updated, you'll still have access to the course. So LinkedIn Confidence, when I get this course finished, which I aim to do by in the next couple of weeks, I will be selling it at £197. You'll get the bonus 5 live Q&A calls. So I always reckon that they work out at £47 if I'm selling those directly to you. So you'll get the total package is worth £432, but I'm selling it just until Friday for £97. So that is a price that is only going out to the people on the LinkedIn challenge. I'm not sharing that massively because I don't want hundreds of people on the course yet, because I can only deal with so much feedback. And so it's quite a small group. There's about a dozen people on there already from the previous challenge. So it'd be great if I could get some more people on, because now there's a lot more of the course. Modules 1, 2, and 3 are all done. Module 4 is partly done. The strategy and the lessons are all laid out. So you'll see the lesson titles when you go onto the course, but it's not actually finished writing it. And that's what I'm going to be finishing off over the next couple of weeks. And each Q&A will focus on one of the modules. So the week 1 Q&A will focus on creating the foundations. The week 2 will focus on your brand. So that's how it will work. If you like the sound of that, theconfidentmother.co.uk/LI for LinkedIn, LI-exclusive. So that's where you can get the LinkedIn Confidence course. If you've struggled with doing the LinkedIn challenge and you know that the course is not for you because you know you just won't get around to it, then I do have a one-to-one option. So if that's something you're interested in, just get in touch with me. But really what I'd love you to do is to buy the LinkedIn Confidence course and get it a really good price, because it's this is the last time I'll be selling it at this price. In the future it will be $197. So there you go. So if you've got other questions for today, and I do apologize for sending some of you the wrong link. September's been a really crazy month for me. I don't know why I do know why I didn't anticipate how much the time and energy the LinkedIn challenge would do, because I decided to re-record all the videos. I had planned to finish writing LinkedIn Confidence, so it was all ready and polished and finished for you. But then I started to look at the quality of the videos I was doing for the LinkedIn Confidence and thinking, the LinkedIn challenge could do with a little bit of that same look and feel. So I decided to re-record all the videos, and I only decided to do that at the last minute. So September's been a bit crazy for me. So I apologize for sending you the wrong link. Just trying to do too much at once and not keeping it simple, which is what I encourage all my clients to do. So if you've got questions, please do pop them in the chat box. I'll stay online for a few more minutes, but if you want to have, if you want to buy the LinkedIn Confidence course, theconfidentmother.co.uk/LI-exclusive. And can I just say, I've loved working with you all. I really love doing my LinkedIn challenge. And do carry on posting questions in there. Just to let you know, I am going to change the Facebook group to secret very soon, because what I find is I get a lot of people trying to spam the group, and I don't want you to get spam in the group. I don't want people posting irrelevant stuff in there and trying to pitch you stuff when you haven't agreed to be pitched to. So I am going to change the group to secret, and then the challenge will run again in January. Of course, you're more than welcome to join the challenge again in January. You can come back as often as you want. That's not a problem at all. But I will open up the group again probably end of December, so that you can start sharing it. You can share it with friends now and add them to the priority list. But in the meantime, if you want to carry on working with me, then LinkedIn Confidence is your best place. So I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining me today, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And I'm glad you've loved it, Jane. I'm glad you've enjoyed learning. And I'm just curious, so have you worked out whether or not it's the place for you to market what you do? Because I think you had a question mark over that at the start. Yes. Oh, that's interesting. That's good. I'm glad you found it's a good place for you to be. So fantastic. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I don't know where you are, but for me, I've got sunshine outside. So I'm hoping, well, I've taken a dog sit, and I've had the 2 dogs out for a walk already this morning and got very soggy feet in the wet grass. I'm hoping to get out there again for a quick walk this afternoon as well. Thank you, everybody. Speak to you all soon.